All right, hey everyone. Welcome to a sort of M8 song structuring like tutorial kind of thing. This is the first video I've ever made that's like this, so bear with me as there's probably going to be some hiccups along the way, but we'll get through that together. This tutorial is actually just more of a kind of walkthrough about my own process of writing music on the M8. Everyone approaches songs differently, even depending on the type of songs. The way that, they can start can be different. So what I'm going to do in this video is just kind of try to make something from scratch. I don't really have anything pre-planned in mind, so I'm just going to kind of wing it, show some helpful tips and tricks along the way. I should also mention that this video is for people who are already sort of basically familiar with the M8 and how to navigate certain screens and stuff, so I'm not going to go over any of that sort of really basic stuff. I'm going to probably quickly fly through some stuff, but if you have any questions or ways that I can improve videos like this, please let me know down below in the comments. It would really help me out, and I would like to keep making more content like this, so we'll just see how this goes. Alright, so let's get started. First thing we're going to do is probably, well, obviously we're just going to clear all this stuff, and we're just going to create a new chain, empty phrase, and then we'll start with some kind of instrument. Let's just start out something simple, just some kind of beat, and I'm going to be using samples for this beat. There's a great sample pack that you can Google called India Tech that's got these different instruments and a bunch of samples within them, which is great. I love it. So let's just go ahead and create a huge kit. So I'm going to press Option right just to create a new instrument within the instrument page, and then just do the same thing. Let's go up to tabla. Cool, so let's start out with these instruments for now. I like to use a variety of instruments to help keep things a little bit more organic. So let's just, something really cool about the M8 too is you can do some randomness in there. Selecting the notes in a phrase and then holding Option and right, it'll just sort of randomly place notes in there for you. I should also mention I'm running the newest firmware as of today, and as of this video I think it's 3.2, so just keep that in mind in case there's some features on my end that maybe you might not have. 3.2. So I don't know, for example, what if we do something like this? So I can imagine there being some kind of hit on, so both on 4 and C. So what if we change that to 9 or 7? So let's change this. I don't really like how pingy that one is too, so let's just add some, like a little bit of low pass on that so it's less pingy. Let's add some more in there. Just kind of doesn't have to be precise, Make it more organic, just have fun with it, kind of make it random. Let's do 5 on that one. So now this is what we got. Cool, so we have that. Something cool we could do is we can clone this phrase, and then to create some more variation, let's say I want to keep those consistent hits on C and 4, but I want to switch up this other stuff. So I'll just select this, hold down Edit, and then press up or down just to like sort of, you can rearrange them however you want. Is that different? That is different. All right, and then we can even just add some more variation within that And this is a great quick way to just provide some extra, randomization into your patterns. So we can do the same thing. We'll clone that. I'll probably be working in 4/4, so I'm going to have 4 phrases here that are all filled up. Let's do the same thing for this one. So now this is what we got for the full chain. Alright, so I feel like that's maybe just a little too fast, so we're going to try to slow down this energy a bit. Let's do something maybe, what if it was like 85 BPM? What does that feel like? Alright, cool. I like that. So to provide even more variation, what I'm going to want to do is go through all of these instruments, and I think it was 0 through 9. And something I really like to do to add some variation through kind of randomness is we're going to take an LFO, we're going to put it on pan, and we're going to retrigger it. Oops, I can get past it. Or sorry, random. And then we'll set it on retrigger. So every time instrument 0 hits, it's going to randomize the pan, and you can sort of see it with that little blue dot above the amount there. So if I don't want it to be super hard panned, or just want to sort of contain the panning, I can lower this value here. I usually like to set it at 90, that way it's not too far left or right, but it kind of depends. Maybe I'll go A0. So now something that's really cool is that I can shift option, copy that mod, option right, go to the next instrument, and then shift edit to just paste that mod. So now instruments 0 and 1 will both randomly pan each time they're triggered. So we'll do that for all 9 of our instruments. Great. Something else that is nice to add some variation is to do the same exact thing, except instead of the pan, you want to do it to the volume. And we don't want it to mute completely, so we'll lower this value maybe down to 6 or something, retrig, and put on random. So let's copy that stuff over to each one of these. So now what's really great is that it won't sound as flat, and there'll be a lot of variation, and it'll sound a lot more organic. Yeah, so it kind of creates just some nice random accents that give the drum beat like a lot more feeling than if everything was just kind of at the same flat volume, never wavering. It's always good to have some variation in there. So I should also mention that a lot of working on the M8, at least for me, is a lot of just listening back to what I've created and then really just like trying to figure out like what else it needs. But to sort of like save some time, and so that you're not having to listen to just the same thing over and over again like I do when I'm working with the M8, I'm just gonna like cut out a lot of the parts where I'm just kind of like going through stuff, and I really just want to dive into like the next phase of things. So after listening through this a bunch of times, I still want there to be like a little more variation. I still think there could be some spice in there. And that is where the chance command comes in really handy. So we'll throw in chance commands every time, basically except for those hits on 4 and C, because we still want those to be consistent. And because they're pretty much all the same throughout these phrases, we can copy that option down to go to the next phrase, and then shift edit to paste those chance commands. But actually, before we paste all that stuff, we want there to be some randomness. So let's do chance. What if we did at like 86? So now when we play this thing, it's not going to trigger each note all the time. It's going to trigger each note 86% of the time. Something else I really like to pair with the chance command is the retrigger command. I usually like to set my retriggers at 3, so to just give you an idea what that would sound like. So so we want to have, I like having these retriggers to help kind of spice things up, but we obviously don't want that to hit like every time. It would just be way too much. But what if we did retriggers only, 13% of the time? And even that might be like a little too much. Maybe we want it 6% of the time. Cool. So now let's take this whole thing and then paste that along all these phrases. So now full phrase. Cool, I like that. Maybe I want this to be 93%, so we can just paste that all the way down to. Okay, so I want there to actually be some reverb on all of this stuff just to create some more space. So we'll go into each instrument and we'll up the reverb. Let's try 60 for now. And I have yet to figure out or know if there's a way to copy these parameters over to other instruments. If anyone knows how to do that, please tell me, because that would be amazing if I could just copy these parameters over. It would save a lot of time. Unfortunately, the only way I know how is to just do it for each instrument individually. So again, I'm just using option right or left to just scroll through the different instruments, upping their reverb all to 60. I think that was the last one, right? So now let's see what this sounds like. So that's quite a bit of space to me. I think I don't really want it to be too spacey. Let's actually just lower these. Cool. So this is like just enough space, I think, to provide like a really nice atmosphere without it being too like washed out and too, cosmic sounding. I think this amount of space feels right for these drums and this feeling. So now that we have this basic beat, I'm just gonna, maybe paste that 4 times. Something really useful to do is to make some empty chains, or I should say empty phrases with nothing in them. If you're gonna just, be playing multiple. I'm sure a lot of you already know this already, but just in case, it's a good idea to create empty chains and phrases at the start of your project. The next thing maybe I'm thinking about is some chords to come in just to sort of give more of a type of feeling. Is this going to be, dark and moody kind of chords? Is it going to be kind of happy chords with a lot of tension? I'm not sure yet. So we'll create a new chain, new phrase, and then we're going to create a new instrument using the hypersynth. Hypersynth is amazing. I love using it. So let's start out just changing the envelope so it's not just super annoying. Let's change this decay down to like 4. Let's also put on a low pass filter just so it's a little bit softer, maybe. And then we'll do this, I don't know, again, we can do some randomness here. Boop, boop. What is this gonna be like? That's too much. I think I'm gonna delete, several of this stuff. Do 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 do. Yeah, okay, so we could work with that. This is basic beat, but we just want to come up with a chord now. So let's start out by deleting these notes. So right now it's on C. What if we wanted to change that to D or something? And then just scroll over. That's kind of like a nice safe chord sound. Kind of like to add some resonance in there to make it ring a little bit better. What if we up the volume a bit? So this one sounds like in context. But I don't really like how, I don't know, it sounds kind of muddy to me, so I'm just going to change that up an octave actually. Cool, so now we might want to think about like, what's another chord that might fit well within this scheme. Something cool you can do on the hypersynth is copy the chord using Shift Option, go to another chord, and then Shift Edit to paste those notes. So they're the exact same notes, it's the same chord. It still adds in the 0, 0 here, so just make sure you delete those if you want to. And then from here, I like to explore, different notes that can go well with this chord, or different chords, I guess, that can fall within this scale. That's not a bad chord. Let's copy that one and paste it here. And then do the same thing. That's another like really safe chord. I'm not really too familiar with specific scales and the names of chords and stuff. I just kind of know what I like in terms of what I think sounds good. I don't really know if I'm a fan of this major kind of sounding chord here. Let's just work with this and see kind of what happens. Alright, so I don't really want it to start with that chord, so we can change the chord. I kind of like it starting on chord 2. So dun 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 dun, and then what if on this last one we change it to 1. And that adds just enough slight variation. Ooh, something else that's good for variation, especially with the hypersynth. Well, let's change the width of this to make it more filled out a bit. Just gives it, kind of some more meatiness, I would say. So what the shift does is it basically will shift kind of the intensity of the notes, either to like those upper notes or these lower notes. But I like to have some variation again, so that's what LFOs are good for. We'll put it on, where did it go? Shift. We'll put it on random and retrig. And so again, we want to sort of contain it. We don't want it to be too drastic, so let's contain it at maybe A0. And even that might be too much. What about 70? 50? I think 50 is a pretty nice one. Let's try to do we want to have the same rhythm? Dun, 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 dun. What if I don't want to have the same rhythm? But we can still clone that phrase and maybe figure something out. So, bum, 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 bum. And then I want a chord change, and then dun, 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 dun. What we got so far? And this is pretty like simple, just to get us started. that, what else can we do now? So just to kind of match the space with the drums, let's create some reverb on this hypersynth. Cool, so we have kind of this just nice loop here, I think. What if we wanted to, instead of just starting it with straight up drums, we kind of have a little fade in. So let's try to fade in this right here. We're going to paste that, but then we're also going to clone it. We're going to go over, and then we're going to clone this phrase as well. And the reason we're going to clone it is because we're going to change some stuff up in here. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to increase the volume slowly over time. So we'll throw in a volume, and this is relative. So volume 0, it will still trigger that. So you need to make sure, if you want to fade in, that it's pretty low. We'll go follow that sorry, with a repeat command. And if we want this slow, what does it sound like if it's just +1? And this is per tick, so cool. What if we did 1.5 actually? And then at the end of the chain, let's clone this phrase again because we want to put in a rep 0. This is going to stop the rep command from just increasing the volume all the time, just all the way down throughout these different phrases. So it's always good to throw in a rep 0 command so it stops it, and then once we get here, it'll just be back to its full volume. But what if I wanted to also maybe throw in like a DJ filter, so that not only is the volume going to increase, but it's also going to affect the filter, the master filter. Let's go over to the rightmost column, throw in a phrase, and for the most part it's going to be filled with these empty ones. And then so let's go up here, throw in a DJ filter command. DJ filter. We'll start this at, I kind of want it to be high pass, so it should be past 80. I really think it starts out a little too quiet on this right here, so maybe, what if the volume was at 48 and then we increase this 1.25? Cool, so I like that the chords just come in right away. You don't have to wait for those. Sweet, so we got a kind of a nice buildup with that volume. So now with this DJ filter constantly keeping everything at C0 or nice high pass, let's go down here to try to fade it in just back to normal. So we'll create a new phrase, and then what we'll do in that same column where there's the DJ filter command, we're going to throw in another rep command. And so we want to decrease that. What if it was by 4 each time? So let's check that out. Cool, so you can see how it goes from low pass and the filter kind of goes back to normal. And then we're going to do the same thing, just place the rep command at 0. But because now we're dealing with this column, we're going to have to put in an empty phrase here. But something that is nice actually, maybe instead of an empty phrase, anytime I'm doing sort of like a DJ filter stuff, I really want to make sure that it's all back at normal to 80. So we're going to create another phrase, and then just in this phrase we're going to put the DJ filter command again, but we're going to set it back to 80, which is the normal parameter, or the normal setting I should say, for the DJ filter. And then that can just be followed with some empty phrases right there. Let's also do some stuff with the resonance, maybe at like 60, just to give it a little more juiciness. Cool, so then what if right here, because we have this build up, like you kind of want to build it up to something and not just, you know, have the same thing. So let's create some more punchy drums and let's really establish the beat just right here on the first row, you know, row 01 I should say, which is actually the second row. So with that, we're going to make a kick drum and probably a snare. It's probably, you know, basic bread and butter type stuff. We want that to be empty. Let's go ahead and create this little bit harder beat here. So we want to find a good good kick drum. And let's see, so dun dun dun, so boom, k, boom, boom, k. I don't know, something. First we should just like maybe find a good kick. Let's see, samples, load, do love me some samples. And drums, no, that's not the one. Packs, electronic sounds. I really wish I could remember where this sample pack was from because they have great kicks in here. So let's just see. It's a good idea to I like to play the what I have so far just to really pick which kind of kick that I like. It's hard for me to pick a kick when I don't really know the context that it's in. So let's listen to it real quick. And then I'll just be pressing the play button to sort of audition these kicks as we go. Cool, I like this 37. It's kind of got a little bit of a hi-hat in there, so what if we just did this? What does that sound like? So then where would the snare fall into that? Where would that extra hit come in? So I think we could keep it consistent with what we have over here, which is on that 7. We have this nice 7 and C. So we should create different instruments on 4 and C. Let's look at their claps. Maybe I don't want something too punchy like a snare just yet, unless it's more of like a lo-fi snare. So I want something a little bit more organic. That's a great clap. Let's see what that sounds like. Cool, yeah, that's a good beat. Let's try it. Alright, cool. So maybe is there a way that we can maybe change this up a bit? So maybe even that's by changing the kick drum every 2. I like boom, 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 boom. So let's clone that. So boom, and then doom, doom. Cool, I like that. But instead of having these two at normal volume right next to each other, I want to maybe lower the volume of this one a bit, just so that it's kind of like the hint of the kick drum right before we get to like the actual meaty kick drum right here. It kind of helps things sound a little bit more organic too. And then what if instead of that we just use C there? So maybe for this last one, we clone it and then add another kick right here. So dun 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 dun. Oh, okay, so right here, boom, dun dun. Cool, I like that. All right, let's try to maybe make it sound a little better. Something I think that makes things sound great is using the trigger envelope for the instruments, so that every time the kick drum is triggered, a certain instrument will, you know, maybe lower in volume. It's also known as ducking. Let's see. So let's go up to the chords instrument, the hypersynth, and let's go to our trigger envelope. We want the volume to be changed, and we want it to basically drop like all the way. but the decay, so basically how fast it kind of comes back to its volume. What if we did it at like 4 subs? Let's see what that sounds like. Maybe it's a little too much. Maybe keep it at like 2 or something. Let's also change the volume of the kick drum. Let's clap, kick, cool. Let's change the dry. Let's go A4. Too quiet. Alright, so I think we've got kind of like pretty cool beat going on here. What else could we do? Maybe we could do some kind of arpeggiation just to like reinforce that chord even more. And it also can function as good support for the percussion over here. So because these are happening like, you know, every 16th note, I think it would be good to like pair that maybe with some kind of arpeggiation. So that's obviously going to match the scale of whatever chord this is in, something like. So maybe we don't want it to be full-blown arpeggiation, but actually just like more of a melody with some arpeggiation in there. We want to start this after the kick drum comes in, just so that we can have a little time. How many times do we want to cycle this though? Sometimes, you know, it's hard. Like if I want to rush something, I'll just put it right in the next phrase, or maybe I want to kind of take my time. But I think it is important to, at least for me, that like if there are 2 rows that are basically exactly the same, I want there to be some kind of soft variation involved in there. But that's something that we can always come back to later, and usually those kind of minor creative changes come like along the way during the song. But for right now, I'm kind of just excited to get this arpeggiation going, and we can always just delete and edit stuff if we want to later. So let's get this arpeggiation going. Let's do it after 2. New phrase. Here we go. Let's see, what kind of sound do we want? What if we just started out as a basic, I don't know, macrosynth is always cool, morph is always cool, but since we want it to be like kind of tight arpeggiation, not super long, like I said, we want to reinforce those percussive elements. So we want it to be sort of a tight, even shorter than that, you know, and we want it to be nice and bright. Cool. Maybe even just 1 step. Cool, I like that. This sort of sound too, if we want to talk about like the sound, I guess, it feels like a square wave. Like it has that feeling for me, which is also kind of resemblant in my mind of like a kick, those sort of like lower square wave sounds, like kind of early 8-bit, you know, sort of kick sound, classic chip kick. So we could morph this and just like kind of give it some changes. The reason I don't want to just keep it as this sound is because I think the kick drum is already doing a lot with its punchiness. So I want something a little brighter and not sort of like as like wide as just the straight up like morph. And we can do that just by changing the timbre of it. Something cool we could do though is just by using an LFO to change the timbre of it. So we'll go up to LFO, change the timbre. It's going to start at 80, at least from my understanding. What this is going to basically do is that it's still going to start at 80, and it's just going to kind of increase it like full amount, increase it amount FF. If we didn't want it that much, we can only increase it 10, so it will go from 80 to 90, and then maybe if we do 40, it'll go 82, 1, 2, 3, 4 to C0. Let's actually start it off. So maybe something like that. Oops, let's try something. Cool, let's start it at B0, and then let's just go up 40, that's fine. And I think this gradual change with a triangle, I mean, let's just see what that sounds like. So again, we want this on like each steps. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun. We could go in and pick a scale, but I'm not even too sure what scale this is in, and I kind of just do things by sound. So let's just see what sounds good. Let's just do this for example, and I kind of want to change up the sound even more, because let's change it up while everything's playing. So let's loop this. Oh, okay, so I just messed everything up. So I basically selected everything and then hit Option right, which again puts in random patterns in there. What I wanted to do was hit Shift right to go to the instrument screen. That's okay. It's gonna sound different now, and I feel like those accidents happen, and you just kind of got to go with it, so it doesn't just get hung up on like this has to be the thing. Just like change it up and see what happens. That already sounds to me way better just because of how much this is shifting around. What does it do if we shift the color around? Well, that's not bad. Maybe it sounds a little too tingly in my ears, so I want to kind of throw in a low pass filter and kind of... Okay, that's not bad. What if we increase the resonance? Just to give it more, just a little bit of that ting at the beginning once the initial, note gets triggered. Add some reverb on there. Too much. We don't want it to sound like it's just way too much. That sounds pretty nice. What if we change that even lower? Or what if we just automate that? So LFO to cutoff will increase that its full amount. That is fine. Frequency, let's just maybe not its full amount. Maybe only like 30. Okay, that's not bad, but I want it more frequent. That's some nice variation. Let's just see what that sounds like when it's repeated. Okay. How can we change this up a bit? Because it still sounds like I want to get a lot out of the sound. Instead of 8, let's do like 10. We'll keep it on free. And then something I like to try just to see what it sounds like is by changing the decay to be longer, so it's not just as tight all the time. And again, we can do that with the lovely chance command. There it is. Chance command. Boink, 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 boink. And we want these to retrigger every time. Where is it? F. Let's change that to F. Okay, and then we'll add a decay command in here as well. So, envelope decay. So this is what it's going to sound like, I guess, if it's at 0. If it's at 1, really short. But when we increase it, the decay increases. Right now it's at, what is it at? It's at 6. So that's kind of our base. What if we change it up a bit? So I wouldn't want them to be any short. Maybe. Well, it gets, we kind of got to see. What if we did decay C? and then by 20%. So what's happening is that like all of these notes are being played, but only some of them, 20% of the time, are being hit with this extra decay. So the note, holds for a little bit longer, which creates some nice variation, which I think is just fucking awesome. But what if we did want some, shorter ones? So if 6 was our, let's change it down, some of these to 3. Cool, that's not a bad kind of loop. Let's just put 4 in there, just, I don't know, because I feel like it. All right, okay, so I like the variation of this macro synth. Could do even more, I think. Panning is always fun. Panning. 9. Random. Retrig. Okay, so I kind of like where this is headed so far. I don't really want this to be the same all the time though. It can maybe keep the same sort of rhythm, but I want to change up the notes. So clone that phrase so we have the same rhythm. So now that these two are different, I feel okay going back to E, and maybe even back to F. I always typically like to change up this last phrase. Gives it some more variety. Cool, not bad. Something I actually want to do still. See, the thing is here is that this is kind of where maybe I'm underutilizing tables in a way. Actually, yeah, let's try to figure out this together. I want to free up this mod because I want it to be a trigger envelope for the kick in terms of volume. Kick, where are you? Kick. But I don't want it to be a lot, even just one step, just to create a little bit more room for that kick to come through. So now if I wanted to modulate the pan, let's see if we can figure this out. This is D, table D. So let's put in just a pan. Our pan is at 0. Let's put in a random left. The thing I wish we could do is just go, up and down with it. Because this will I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start this pan at, let's say 96. And then I'm going to put it in a random left. And then that'll increase this pan up to A0 in terms of the amount. Let's actually just go all the way up to F0 just for the hell of it. So what I'm hoping from this is that every single time one of these notes is triggered, it will pan the note randomly between -96 and whatever -96 plus F0 is. This is kind of where things can become a little confusing. I mean, even for me, like, I don't really use tables a whole lot, but they are incredibly underutilized. Hey, at least I know I don't use them enough because they're amazing. I just want to maybe hear what this sounds like. am so glad that they put in this that little dot. Because we can kind of see, at least I'm pretty sure this is relating to the panning, that the panning is going all over the place. Okay, awesome. We figured out this really cool thing that allows us to free up a mod slot so that it can be used by a trigger envelope or something, and then use a table to pan it. Maybe it would be a good idea to save even just like an empty instrument with this kind of setting in there, as just a nice like way to have a template for a pan. Okay, so maybe I don't want this to just come in alone. You know, maybe I want something else to sort of help build up when that just comes in immediately. It feels like it can be too abrupt, so I want to have something maybe kind of bring it in. I think maybe some really nice fast textures and arpeggiation could be cool here. So what if I want to have it on, oops, this row, and then let's kind of start from bar 3. Actually, so what we're going to end up having to do is, because I want this to be fast arpeggiation, which means I want to change the groove to 3/3. This is basically making everything double time. Or oops, I don't want groove 0 0 to be that. Otherwise everything's going to happen way too fast. I want groove 1 to be 3/3, and I want whatever phrase this is to make sure groove is on that groove 1, that 3/3 groove. But that means that I'm gonna have a little bit of extra stuff down here, because these two are just gonna go like, actually no, the whole entire chain is going under that groove. Aha, so here's what we can do. Or actually that's not true, because it starts right here. Okay, let's just see. Cool, alright, great, figured that out. So we are gonna have just like a few extra ones down here. It's not gonna stop at 3. I would like a different sound other than this one, but maybe we can, you know, keep these parameters or something. So let's clone it to E, and then maybe instead of morph we have something else. Okay, that's not bad. What if we just changed the groove even more? What would happen? How do I get, I just never understand how to get there. Alright, I'm a little interested in this. What if it was even more than that? Cool, yeah, I kind of like that. That's super weird. You could also do this with tables, but I'm just figuring things out on the fly here. How many would that take? Oh man, so I probably am gonna have to use some kind of table if I wanted to do something that fast. Just because I don't feel like trying to figure out exactly where it ends. So let's keep it at groove 3/3 and make things simple. That is just fine. These parameters are the same. Let's change it to, let's try other things. I want this to be, you know, we obviously want to build that up. Cool, so what if we put in same volume rep combo. Volume rep combo. Combo. Small. Cool, I think that's good. Actually, let's do like 1.25, and then once that builds up, again, we want to end it with a rep 0, and then it'll be full volume when it gets to here. So what does it sound like? Okay, so because that is going so damn fast, it's going to, pretty sure, maintain the same groove for this row right here. So let's check it out. Yep, cool. So maintain the same groove so we don't have to throw in a groove command up here. But we want to, I mean, and then let's just change this back to 10. And then same thing with that one. So let's see what this sounds like. That is kind of, I kind of like that. Yeah, I think maybe it needs to shine a little bit more. So the dry. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that sounds pretty fun. Maybe instead of the timbre being so free. Alright, cool. I think what I like about that is that it kind of has a similar timbre to those kinds of drums. It's got the kind of like doink doink kind of feeling to it, which I like. You know, this is probably going to end up just being sort of like a regular old hip-hop beat, but let's see maybe where else we can take this, because, you know, I can imagine loops of this, some variation here and there, but let's see. So far, how does this all just fit together? Cool. I think it sounds pretty good. So we're gonna have to put in some more, because it's on double time, for this chain to finish up with the other ones. Something else I kind of wanted to do was maybe to add in some extra emphasis to when this comes in, is change up some stuff on this row here. And what I like to do is typically make the last bit kind of empty and give it some space. So if that's our drum beat, clone that, clone the last phrase, and then we'll just get rid of everything from 8 on down. Cool, yeah. And then even with this chord, right, let's clone that, clone the last phrase, and then do something where it like bends down. So like dun 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 dun, to give it like a feeling of dragging or something before we get to the other part. Pitch bend down by 4. Nice. I think that sounds pretty fun. Let's do the same thing with these. So the thing you have to be careful with is if there is a potential now for this retrigger to go like all the way down here, because there's really nothing to stop it. So we just want to make sure there is kill command. That way, in case this retrigger does happen, it'll stop here and not just continue all the way down. Cool. And I think maybe later down the road, there's definitely going to be some more stuff happening just to build this up a bit. What I did sort of off camera was I changed some of the parameters for this arpeggio. What instead I did, I think this was at cutoff, I changed it to volume and instead put it on random retrig. So it's going to have some more variation in its volume instead of the cutoff, and I changed the cutoff to be just a little bit brighter. Also added I think a little bit more reverb and delay just to kind of add some extra texture. So what I'm thinking about now is that when all this stuff comes in, I want the bass to come in. I have kind of a bass line in mind, like bow, bow, bow. For me, bass can be a little bit hard to dial in, so I hope this goes smoothly. Let's create a new instrument. Let's try wave synth out for now. Obviously we're gonna have this on low. Okay, so let's change the decay of this. Actually, instead of decay, let's use a hold so that it maintains its volume. And then, of course, for bass, I want to put in a trigger envelope on kick. Change it to 3. Dun, dun, dun. Maybe so I want some like a little twanginess in there. Let's use a envelope for the pitch. How punchy would this be? It's a little too punchy. Cool. Okay, so I think that sounds fine. So let's see what it sounds like maybe in context. Okay, cool. Not bad. Here's what I'm thinking. Thinking like 2 rounds of that, and then maybe dropping these these drums here, and just replacing it instead with some more traditional hi-hat stuff to make it even more punchy and kind of a little tighter. And then throughout the whole composition, I think that provides just like a nice variation. Something else I also did off camera was because I want this row to be sort of like different in structure than these 2 rows, I put in a 9 and a B just like up here so that it provides some empty space before we get to these parts here. So let's listen to that lead in. Cool. And so I think this little melody is going on for a bit too long. Things start to kind of sound annoying after a little while. I'm going to add in some hi-hats and just to see what that really basic beat feels like. So We'll create a new phrase. I want to try to keep it in the same column as the like other percussive elements, just so I can keep track of those sorts of parts. Typically, maybe what I like to do for a beat like this, let's try it every that so often. And that was a nice shortcut that they added in some, I can't remember when it was added, but he added the ability to fill instead of, random. You can also fill notes, which saves a lot of time. Cool, so that's not bad. Maybe I kind of want it actually all of them, but to give it some more organic sound, we'll change this down to like 40. Cool. Don't know how I feel about that hi-hat though, so let's try some out. I like that. It's kind of like a shaker. I feel like I tend to prefer shakers over hats. I guess it depends on the song, but I find musically I'm drawn to shakers a little bit more just because there's a little bit more of that grainy, sandy texture that a hat just seems really like straightforward, or it can, but there's a little, I don't know what it is, maybe it's literally just like the noise element of that sound that I really like. Let's turn this down just a bit. Cool, that's not bad. Again, let's add some variation with the chants and retriggers. So sometimes it's funny and doesn't give you anything. So let's put in a bit more so there's just a little bit greater chance for something to happen. Cool, awesome. So I kind of like that variation already. So now we have this like really nice, just like simple sort of hip hop beat that kind of came from like, I guess that's, it's still a hip hop beat, but without these sort of organic drums. Now it's just straightforward. It's kind of hard to know like where to go from here. There's this kind of quick arpeggiation happening that maybe that energy could somehow carry onto the next phrases. I definitely want to drop this though, just because I think that gets annoying. Feels like a kind of a funny or cheesy little line too. But let's just see what else we can do. What if we just added like a nice kind of I do love me some samples. Let's try out some like vocal samples to function as a melody for us, and we're going to be chopping a bunch. So let's go to the sampler and let's see, vocals 2. I think these are cymatics vocals. They're sample pack. It's free sample pack. And then what do I usually like? Chants.
Can't love nobody.
That's kind of nice. So what happens if we change the start of this so that we don't get that beginning part?
Can't love nobody. No love, can't love nobody. Love nobody. Love no.
Okay. So that's a good starting point for just to get us somewhere. Let's pick some more stuff. So I have some samples that I put in.
Okay.
And basically what I'm going to be doing is going in here, choosing those different samples, changing the starting points of them, maybe changing the pitches of them so that things can sort of line up scale-wise. I want to maybe add some distortion. So what does it sound like?
Love no, love no, love no, love no, waiting for you. Love no, love.
Let's change the volume of all those. Maybe that's that on just that 11 is a little bit too harsh, so we'll tone that down just a bit. Cool. So we have sort of a basic melody here with just these kind of chopped vocals that are choking each other, and we're just using different starting points to get us to exactly where we want in the sample. So what does that kind of sound like in context? Okay, cool. So something I'm noticing is that this cursor is still going fast because it the groove hasn't changed. So we want to make sure the groove stabilizes when it gets back to here. So we're going to clone that. We're going to clone that and then just put in a groove command at 0. So now the playheads should line up again. Something else I want to do actually is these chords right here. Oh, that's not it. Where are they? They have been the same. I at least want to change something up about them by the time we get to this point when, you know, sort of everything else changes. I want the chords to change as well, and maybe not their notes, but even just how they feel. So I'm going to deep clone that because I want to change all of these phrases. I think, what if we did a quicker sort of release, so it's a little tighter. Cool, that's not bad. Let's change. Alright, cool. I think that sounds good. I want to do some more work with these samples though. I don't want it to just be the same all 4 times. They can get a little repetitive. But we can, you know, switch between some variations. So let's see what else we can do. I like this first one. Let's clone it. And then, what else do we have? These two, da-da-da. I want it to be tight on the first one. Not so much on the second one. Cool. So let's listen to what we got. Cool. Maybe I don't want this to be the same note as the other phrase. I think that's kind of funny. So, interpolation, that's a pretty cool feature. Basically, you can put in a value, let's say from, you know, I can't put in a value right there. Let's put in, you know, from 11 to 61. As long as you fill in all the in-between stuff, if you select that area in which you want to kind of evenly space, shift edit, I think I have to do it on like a value like this. Yeah, sorry for that horrible interpretation of interpolation. I think I want to add some more variation with some nice pitch bending effects. That always is fun for me. So maybe on these last ones, I kind of want there to be some extra reverb that builds up a bit. I feel like maybe the easiest way to do this would be send reverb. Start it at 50, and then end it at 128, and then just interpolate. cool. So even like something like that like, gave me some inspiration when it jumped back to the beginning with this high pass filter that we put in. Going back to those drums, I actually really liked that. So like, what if we just take that, put that back down here? Let's do it twice for good measure. Let's keep that consistent. I wanted to do something. What did I want to do? Oh yeah. So I think what adds some nice harmony between each of the parts is if they sort of relate to each other in some way in terms of their rhythm. So what I typically like to do is change up the kick drum or the clap or the hi-hats to sort of maybe fit what's going on with the melody. I really like this melody.
Waiting for you.
And so I want to kind of emphasize that melody with different or similar rhythmic elements in these other parts here. What is this? Okay, so that's the chord. You can also do that stuff with the chords, I think. Let's try that too. So we're going to change. Let's deep clone that just to be safe. So what would we... Dun, 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 dun. I really like that part, and I want that part to shine. So empty some stuff completely. So same thing here. What's really nice about the M8, or at least that I found in my workflow, is that what I'm doing right now in terms of like, okay, I'm on row 1 of this chain or phrase. Oh God, I get those confused all the time. I'm on row 1. I want to change it up by like emptying this out. If I just go back and then choose another chain that I want to do, the cursor will still be at row 1, so I don't have to even remember, kind of what I did. You can even navigate through these pages with Option and the left or right, which is just super useful that the cursor doesn't just jump back up to 0. I find that really awesome. So, dun, 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 dun. That's another thing I like to do too, within the hi-hats especially, is sort of change the note value of some of them. So let's just go into 18 here, and then we'll do random left again, and then for the note we're going to put in like random note, say +3, and we'll do that on, let's say just like all these ones in between or something, for example. So it will randomly increase this pitch by, I think, 3 semitones, or stay the same, but it adds some nice variation. Prevents things from sounding a little too stagnant. So let's go ahead and throw a bunch of those in there. So instead of dun 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 dun, maybe it's like dun dun ba da ba da. So, retrig, that's what we want. And then same thing, let's kind of increase the volume. For some reason, I like them to, I don't know if it's my OCD or something. I don't know if that's OCD, but I kind of like it when they're on zeros. Cool, and then again, let's change those pitch. And so kind of what that, I think, helps, it's rising in pitch, it's rising in volume, and it all feels like it's leading into just the next phrase. And then maybe I also want to match whatever's happening here with the hi-hats over here. And then sometimes what I like to do, just to be safe, because if I can't really remember if this is being used somewhere else, I think there should be a little asterisk or caret up at the top, but just to be safe, I just clone it anyway. It's not a big deal. So boom. Let's change that up. I just start listening and it's like, do I like these extra claps that are happening? Where were those? Oh yeah, so it was up here somewhere. Maybe I just want clap, clap. And So I feel like this is really like minor detail stuff, but I think that's also just like part of my workflow is I'll just get really into like I really want this section, this row between all of the columns to feel really good, and that kind of provides more inspiration or helps establish maybe what happens at the end of the phrase. For me, it's like really all about listening and dialing in things that I get excited about, and if I don't, then I can always go back up here and like change something. And like I said, like it was even cool that when this cycled back to the beginning, there was that. So what happens if we just let's play it from here. All right, so kind of how that ends with that reverb. I like that reverb. I kind of want that to carry on through this next part, where there's kind of just like more space. Feels a little bit lighter, but I still want that nice vocal in there. So cool, yeah, I really like the way that sounds. It's pretty loud. Let's turn that down. And then, yeah, it's all leading back up to maybe, what's the one? Yeah, let's move it up to 11. So maybe we want the chords to be different here, just like kind of a little more fun instead of just kind of what they have been. So let's put kill commands, and this is just to shorten them up a bit, make them snappier. So, what if I want a pitch bend there? I've never really tried. What happens if I put in a arpeggio? Oh man, that sounds interesting. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Maybe I want the cutoff on that one. What if we put some different cutoffs here? So in this section, I don't know, I'm kind of feeling all the tightness to start to like coalesce, and I don't know. For me, it's just like a head bobbing moment when there's just like you can kind of feel every part of each part that is happening. Okay, so cool. I want to add another chord in here actually. Chord 4. So let's, oops. Oh man, so this is what's kind of frustrating. What if I did? Because I wish I could like hear the chord. That is something I wish could be different. If there was like a really easy way. I mean, I could just maybe do this. I want that to be shine a little bit lighter. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, let's try something. I kind of want to put a retrigger on this, but it doesn't sound like. Let's listen. It gets kind of muddied up, and I think that's just because this decay is at 40. So we'll put in a decay command, and and make it really snappy, like 4. So what does it sound like? Yeah, just like that. Yeah, cool. Now I kind of want to rise that up, so pitch bend up. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Let's put a vibrato on this one just because it's fun. So maybe a bit longer. Maybe a bit longer. I kind of want it to choke, but not really. So in situations like this, I'll put in a kill command and put it at like, 4 or 5 ticks or something. Yeah, that sounds nice. Kind of like, what if it was higher and that was louder? Again, let's put another kill 2 command. Yeah, that sounds cool. Yeah, okay, so let's clone that, and let's do 2 of those, because I just like it so damn much. Okay, cool. Let's change this to 4. Well, let's do the same thing where we went up here. Copy that, paste that there. Yeah. Nice. So this is kind of what that sounds like in context. Oh man, yeah, that feels really good. Okay, so something I noticed was the lead-in to that part. Like this part I think is really cool, and I want the lead-in to, feel like it's doing something too, and not just like lazily kind of wander on into this next row. So we're gonna take the chords and do something different here. And then like pitch down and then pitch back up. So pitch down and then maybe pitch back up here. What does that sound like? Okay, maybe instead of that we should put a hold. I also know like maybe here I want it to decrease and then increase to a reasonable volume. 55. So then let's interpolate some stuff. So I mean, you can sort of hear it if you listen closely, how it kind of feels stepped. In some ways I feel like that can help drive with the kick drum, or for sort of a smoother thing, what we could do is let's just change this back up to 64. Let's just do the volume maybe at 32, and we'll do a rep command decreasing it by 4, and then a rep command here increasing it quickly. Yeah, okay, that feels good. And then again, rep command at 0. Yeah, okay, that feels pretty cool. Okay, so I feel like these chords here, let's see. right here. They could come out a little bit more, which involves changing the cutoff. And so kind of what you see me doing here, I have learned a way using aux tables that I can change basically the like the cutoff and stuff on the instrument without having to like clone this instrument and then change the cutoff manually. Instead, I can just use an aux table, and then what was it? Let's go to the aux table. So now it'll retrigger. Yeah. So now the question is, how much do we want to go, like 1A? The thing about this though is I'm pretty sure it will always just be at 1A, and the LFO that, where is it? Come on. The LFO that is controlling, oh, there is no LFO controlling the cutoff for these. Oh, interesting. Anyways, just what does it sound like? Start it here. Yeah, I think that sounds pretty cool. I think I remember that if you want the aux table to end, you have to put it at you know, like a aux table 0 or something. So let's put an aux table here at 0. Good morning. It's the next morning, by the way. I have some stuff plugged into this mixer that I have, so I could try to like monitor things through my headphones better. So hopefully this new kind of setup doesn't interfere with the audio in any way, like if there's any sort of delays between my voice and whatever's happening. That being said, let's see. So we ended with the aux table. I feel like this part maybe it could repeat for sure, and because I think this is just the DJ filter, we don't need that there anymore. What if we put in that bass, and what does that sound like? Yeah. See, now it's like this whole section right here I'm not really too excited about. I just don't think it feels too different, and it might be like the bass could be like this right here. Yeah, I'm not sure if I like this kind of that thing anymore, but let's bookmark those just so that maybe we can come back to those later and just be like, hey, I want to change that. As far as the bass too, I'm not too psyched about this bass, but I do want to have some kind of bass. Yeah, something like dun 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 dun. It kind of fills in some of those gaps. It just kind of keeps my head bobbing, trying to think about like a bass line that can fit into the rest of the melody. Let's try to make a bass part. Do I have anything loaded in terms of bass? This one says good bass. Maybe. Let's try it. So what I have on this bass, let's see, is I have a drum envelope affecting the pitch, so it kind of has like a little twanginess to it, just a slight amount. Hey, okay, that's not, I kind of like the sound of that. What's that set at? 5 steps? Let's make it a little tighter. Kind of hear that slight like clicking at the end. It might not necessarily be a bad thing. So what if we listen to it? What happens if we... I think that's just one tick is enough to prevent that kind of harsh clicking sound. Alright, so let's continue with trying to figure out this bass line. Da 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 da. I kind of want that to... I want the bass to be involved in that as well. So what does it look like? Here's what I'm just gonna do. I'm gonna take this, go over to my bass part. Where's my bass part at? There it is. Alright, so I'm gonna paste that right down there. So those are all 16. So let's change these all to 16. And then just so that we have the rhythm. So, but let's... So dun 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 dun. G. G is our friend. So I want to kill these ones. I don't want it to. I want it to be punchier. So dun 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 dun. Dung 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 dung, something like that maybe. Dung 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 dung. Usually for like bass notes too, when I want to kind of lead it into the next phrase, I'll do a pitch bend down there, so it kind of sounds like, you know, if a bassist was playing and they kind of are sliding down the neck of the guitar or something to get to, you know, the next beat. I want these to be tighter as well. Maybe not all of them, so that da 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 da, because this is like this middle note and it's the highest note, I think, right? Like dun 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 dun. Yeah. I have this feeling of like wanting to slide up to that highest note. So like dun 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 dun. So you can do that with the pitch slide command. Let's try 3 ticks and just see what that sounds like. So it's very slight. If we did more. Nah. Still gonna keep that there, even though it's really slight. Maybe it just makes me feel better by putting a pitch slide there. Let's keep going with this bass line. We could probably repeat 2B, and let's see if we just cycle that. I'm gonna change this up a bit, so instead of the same dun 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 dun, I want there to be like a dun 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 dun. I like to put it below just so that we have the hint of, you know, the G first before it starts sliding down. Otherwise it will. And I would rather it be right here. If I wanted to get really picky about it, something cool I can do is with a table. We'll create a new table, and so I want it to pitch bend down only just like maybe a few ticks afterwards. Alright, so we have that, and then 2C repeats twice. Let's clone it and change that up. Alright, so let's repeat that bass line there. Let's kind of listen from back here again. let's see if we can change that up. So maybe pitch bend that up at the end. And this is just to help bleed it into that next part. Cool, yeah, I think that sounds, I like that. But yeah, I'm not sure if I went over this, but there's these FD chains that are different from FEs. FEs are just empty phrases. The FD are empty phrases except the first phrase, which is FD, just has a bunch of kill commands. So it'll just stop anything if it carries over into the next phrase, which these are really handy. Maybe it gets a little too loud. So what if we turn down the volume just a bit once it gets to that part? The bass feels a little bit too loud, so let's adjust that down a bit. I want the other parts to have some space to breathe. So B5, that sounds good to me. I should probably save this as something. That's why I love the random name, free slide. That's kind of neat. I like that. What else we got? Chaotic Ocean, Black Mantis, Special Life, Omega Hacker, Unknown Punk, Indigo Switch, Polyfall. How about whatever happens in 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Zealous Abyss. I thought that said Zealous Babies at first. That'd be hilarious. Songs. Zealous Abyss. It's kind of a cool string of letters too. Zealous Abyss. And even just like saying that. Zealous Abyss. Zealous Abyss. That, I don't know, that could be an interesting thing to incorporate into the song. You know? So let's try that right now actually. Alright, so I'm hooking up my OP1 to the audio input of my M8 so that we can hear some of the OP1 through the input. So like, let's see, what do I have right now? Okay, cool. So that sound right there is just coming from the OP1. But what I really just wanted to use the OP1 for was for sampling. So let's go to the sampler. Let's go here.
With buy one, get one 50% off on select interior and exterior.
I love using radio chops to get some cool effects into songs a lot of times too. So I probably might end up using those at some point, which can be a fun process to show you all how to like chop that stuff. But I just want to sample from the internal mic, and so what if we unplug that real quick? Okay, great. ZEALOUSABYSS, that's what it was, right? So I'm just gonna play this, and then ZEALOUSABYSS. Maybe it should be that, because that one sounds a little too robotic. So let's play that again.
ZEALOUSABYSS.
Kind of like that one better.
ZEALOUSABYSS. ZEALOUSABYSS.
All right, cool. I think that sounds good. So what if we tried now, let's create a new instrument. New instrument. We're gonna sample, we're gonna record.
ZEALOUSABYSS.
Stop recording. All right, so now this is our sample. I always like to normalize.
ZEALOUSABYSS.
And let's just crop it.
ZEALOUSABYSS.
What is it without that little part right there?
ZEALOUSABYSS.
Cool. I think I like that better. I think Tim is planning on having a better kind of zoom functionality when it comes to
ZEALOUSABYSS.
sample editing. one wire save. I have it saved under recordings, OP1, and should have a voice thing here. We'll just, I guess we'll create one. So now I just want to add some crazy effects on there. So let's do some chords. Might be a little too much reverb.
ZEALOUSABYSS, 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 ZEALOUSABYSS.
Ooh.
ZEALOUSABYSS, ZEALOUSABYSS,
Ooh, okay. So I like that degrade. It's kind of like a big crusher effect.
ZEALOUSABYSS.
What if we modulate that? Let's go to our LFO. Let's put that to degrade. I don't want it to be too much. Maybe honestly just up to 5. And what if it was on sine? Let's try this. Alright. So this is me just kind of working through this ZEALOUSABYSS vocal and how it could potentially become something a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is, because I like this sample, without any chopping, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this instrument, shift option, and then option right to just get to a new instrument, and then shift edit, which pastes that instrument. So same thing on instrument 18 and 17, except with 18 what we're going to do is slice it up into 16 bits. So what I was kind of playing with was using the slices, and then if we went all the way up to 16, interpolating, it just makes it easy so you don't have to go 1, 2, 3, 4. It'll just do it for you if you interpolate. This is what that would sound like. Which I think could be cool at some point. So I like having just instrument 18 here next to 17 that we can play with if we want to. Let's go back to 17 real quick. And then maybe I don't want the whole vocal of
ZEALOUSABYSS.
We'll change the start of the actual sample. Trigger envelope on that kick. The volume. So maybe instead of having this sample, it's maybe the other vocal sample. So yeah. I know how I want it. It's just hard for me to describe it. So I'm just gonna try it. Yeah, okay. It's always good to just like go back, just kind of like reset, get out of that space, see what it sounds like in context. Yeah. I think that sounds cool, but obviously I want to change things up in here so it stops getting too repetitive. Da-da-da-da. Down. So where was that one table that was the pitch bend? There it is. How about a retrigger on this one? Da-da-da-da, ba-da-ba-da. What? Let's get rid of these ones, and then let's have some fun reversing this with a play. So I think the start command with the play on a sample doesn't do anything. I think if you change the length, though, of the sample, then the reversing will also change with that. the length. So I'm using the pitch command to change the pitch of this because I think this was it slices and you can't change the pitch when it's on slices. What were the settings like for that other vocal? Amp 40, degrade 3, so we'll copy those, bring them down here. Cool. Maybe for this chord, is this the chords? Nope, that's that. Clone that, clone the last phrase. Let's change this up a bit. Let's get rid of that. Dun, 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 dun. I think it's the drums that need to cut out. I think now might be time to introduce some reverse cymbal, which is always a good way to build up something and lead it into the next phrase. Favorites. A crash, nice. And then usually with this crash, I will just reverse it. I could change the length of it too, and then let's put it right here. What does it sound like? Cool. So you can kind of see that that ended early. Let's move it down here and then change the length even more. Alright, not bad. And then, just for some extra security, let's put a ramp up on the volume and have it go 8 steps. That way it'll be sure to start at volume 0, so there's no like little cool, I like that. So what I usually like to do, just if it's something like a reverse cymbal, I'll bookmark it just to change the color so I know where that reverse cymbal is to help me keep track of it. My workflow, I feel like, is different than maybe a lot of other people's, where they like all the 1s in here and the 2s and 3s and 4s and 5s, etc. I kind of just create new phrases as they come, and just somehow, I don't know, I feel like getting familiar enough with that. I mean, you can still tell sometimes, I'm like, where are the chords? But this is just kind of how I'm approaching things. I don't really feel it completely necessary for my workflow to make sure everything in the 4s column starts with a 4 and stuff like that. I'm always just like listening and rearranging stuff, and things get scrambled all the time. But just kind of work with it. So I wanted to drop out some of what's happening with these drums at this last phrase here. So what if it was boom, boom, boom? What if we introduce those hi-hats back in? Because this is still our normal percussion. So I think those hi-hats do a lot in terms of keeping to establish the beat. It's nice to have that kind of continuous 16th note happening, because these are a little light, so let's try to enhance it. Instead of just kind of a light clap on the, the 4 and the C, because right now we have this little tabla, I think. Oops. Oh, fuck. So let's kind of change that and maybe turn it into a snare instead. So we're gonna take this, clone those phrases, deep clone, and then we're gonna put in a new instrument here, where we can use it as more of a punchy snare or something. Let's go to Cool, so I think this one fits the most. Let's put in some reverb on that. Sometimes I'll like to detune it too, depending on. Go in here and change all those sevens to, what was it, 1A? So something to help provide more variation on that snare too, just a little bit, is by modulating the pitch. That basically each time, or I guess actually, I've just realized instead of doing that, we can use random left, which is such a sick command. And then it'll randomize that note maybe up by 3, between 0 and 3 each time. Cool, yeah, so we can kind of hear how the snare changes in pitch ever so slightly each time. I kind of like that small variation. It helps to provide a little bit more depth. I might want to change up where the snare hits are too. Maybe add some more or something. Cool. And then let's put a kill command just so that it's a little snappier. What if instead we change that to that clap? I think maybe too many snares in there. The snare can start to be like the main focus, and I don't want that. I just want to reinforce the other parts. So I'll put in a clap here because it's a little bit more subtle. Or maybe instead of a clap, we'll just create a new instrument and find like a cool rimshot or something. Yeah. So now it's kind of like where to go from here, because we could definitely loop these parts here. I'm kind of in the mood for some kind of chord change. So I want the notes to change because I think, this has been the same pattern, like different rhythm, but basically same chord progression throughout the entire song. So let's try to find some inspiration with a different chord progression. So what I'm gonna do is, let's copy that over, but I want to change that chord up. Let's also get rid of these vocals because I want those to change up. And that's the bass. Let's drop the bass out for now too, to give some more room for the chords to shine through. So let's create a new chain, a new phrase, and what other kind of chord progressions could we come up with? I kind of like the simplicity of that already, going from that to here. And listen to it again. Maybe I want to change up the feeling of the chords though as well. So in this case I will clone that instrument to 1C. And then what if I want to change, add some swarm in there, so let's change up the cutoff a bit. Cool, so I want it to start at amount 0 and then go up, but I can't do a retrig because then it'll start at amount 0 each time. So we're going to keep that on free, but what I'm going to do is on the first phrase here, put in the LFO amount, just so that on this first phrase, the LFO cycles through. But because this and this are the same, I'm going to want to clone that before I do that. So we're going to do mod 3, trigger offset. So we want that to be 0% offset, which means it's going to start from amount 0. I think the cool thing too about the M8 is that pretty sure if you hit like edit on one of the mods, I don't know if it matters which slot or something, but then if you go back and then immediately into an effects column, it'll kind of know what you're trying to modulate in that effects column. So for example, if I go up here and LFO shift, hit edit on that, go back to this screen here, yeah, that didn't work, so maybe I'm just like full of shit. What if we did that instead? No, that didn't work. What if we try to change the value of it? Oh, okay, cool. So that's actually pretty neat. So you can do that. You just have to like change a value, maybe so that it registers in the memory or something. And then as soon as you go back into the instrument screen, you can just hit enter and it'll immediately go on that mod, so you're not having to go up and then just be like, was it on 4 or 3? Like, I can't remember. But that's just a little tip I think is useful. So it's going to start at amount 0. What if we change the decay though, so it's longer? I think that could be a good way to sort of build this section up, is by increasing the decay over time. So the decay becomes longer and longer as it starts to grow. Let's see, I'm trying to figure out, maybe a good way to do that would be using a rep command. So we'll start here, we'll do the decay, maybe on 4. Well, what's it at now? It's at 40. But what if we had it shorter and then we had a rep command that increases it just 1 every tick? So let's see what that sounds like. Cool, I like that. What I actually am thinking about doing now, make sure you put a rep 0, is having this cutoff also follow what the decay is doing to help reinforce it. So we want the frequency to be 4 phrases now, and then we want this to be a ramp up. So it just starts at 0, goes up by 20 over 4 phrases. So let's see what that sounds like. Yeah, that's not bad. What if we change this amount up even more? And sounds good. Right there, we would probably use a reverse cymbal. Oh, by the way, I put all the reverse cymbals in the 7 column. I think that makes more sense to me than having them spread out all over the place. So these drums, again, I think we could change up the last phrase on that. Oh, maybe it's not that one. Oops. Let's just keep that there. I think it's that. Yeah, I don't want any of this stuff. Nice. I'm just gonna save real quick. Listening again. Okay, so something else I did was I put in this high pass filter again that rises towards the end and then comes back down to the DJ filter. So I think that sounds good. Let's repeat that. Put in some FEs here. And then after 2 of those, maybe I want the bass to come in. And I'm also thinking about putting in some radio chops or something, just to see what we can find. But maybe let's try a new bass line. Dun, 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 dun. Let's change that down to 2 actually, and then I want this to hold for a bit longer. Yeah, okay. Alright, so we have this new bass line, and then I said I was also thinking of adding some radio chops, so let's try something like that now. New instrument, sampler, record. And so again, my OP1 is hooked up to the line in, or the audio in, on the M8, and so I just have the radio pulled up right now on the OP1.
Radio Hour from PRX.
Live
right
from
after this.
NPR News in New York City, I'm Dwalisa Kautau. Vice President Kamala Harris says freedoms are at stake following a series of U.S. Supreme Court rulings on a wide range of issues. As NPR's Dave Mistich reports, Harris touched on abortion rights, gay rights, and other issues
sampling
while speaking
on the
with NPR's
OP1
Michelle
right
Martin
now,
at the Essence
and it'll
Festival
create
in
slices.
New Orleans.
So now here's what the slices kind of sound like on the OP1.
Wide as in ports on abortion rights. Their issue with Michelle Martin Festival. Wide range ports on abortion while speaking festival in whilst on abortion.
So what I'm going to be doing now, and I'll speed up the process in the video, but I'm just going to be chopping up the samples on the OP1 itself, and then I will record those chops into the M8. Okay, so I've chopped up some samples from the radio on the OP1, and I've also changed the pitch of some of them so that it sort of fits with the scale of the song. So let's record in those chops.
Wide points listed issues while speaking and Mark Orland.
Cool, so that's what I got. And now let's normalize, and then we're gonna do slice silent. Cool, so we got
Points listed issues while speaking and Mark Orland.
that is so fucking cool that it can do that. Alright, so now we're gonna save them to recordings, OP1 radio. Awesome, and then we're going to change this to file. So now I'm basically just going to be trying to use these radio chops within the song, just see what I can get out of that. Cool, so here's what we got for the first phrase. I guess you don't need to put in these extra note triggers. However, I feel like the LFOs and envelopes will only trigger if the note itself is triggered. But since we don't really have any of that, it'll just trigger the slice each time. Cool. Cool, I like that. I'm gonna do the same thing, just trying to figure out things that we can do. Let's add that other vocal. What does that sound like? Cool, and then again for some more variation on this radio chop, we are going to do the pan trick. Set it to random, retrig. 80 feels good. Let's see if it does it though, without putting in the notes. No, okay, so because, yeah, you have to re-trigger the note each time. We'll clone that, and then because it's on file, can't change the pitch of it. But what if we put in a pitch command? Beep. get really nitpicky too because I want to change the start of this. Okay, there's a part in this vocal chops. Where is it? But I want that part to be enhanced a bit. So here. Cool. It's already doing that there, so we didn't need to do that. Oh, that's why. Jesus. Okay. Maybe even on those retrigs. I kind of want to sync those up. Yeah, right there. Put in a retrig. And we'll put in that decay short. So I've been listening to it, and what I love about my OP1 too is that I mean, I just love these two devices as a pair because I love figuring out melodies and just jamming on the OP1 and then trying to translate that over to the M8. So something that I kind of came up with was after this bit right here, what if we kind of went back to this pattern, and what if we drop these drums? But I was thinking of, so this is the sound from my OP1. What did I do? Let's see. Cool, something like that. I think that melody could be nice. We can stop with the, drop out the bass and stop with those radio chops. After usually 2 times, kind of like done with them. 2 cycles, I should say. So instead of just sampling that sound, which I could, and I think I have a sample of that in the M8, I want to try to just make one from scratch, just for some sound design practice, I guess. So this sound seems kind of like a soft square wave. The envelope has that little like doo doo at the beginning of it, and there's also, I feel like, a little wobble in the pitch, just ever so slightly. That's like, you know, little flat, little sharp, just to prevent it from being one continuous pitch. So let's see if we can make something like that. Let's just use the pulse 50 and then low pass filter. Let's change that down a bit. And add some reverb on there. So this envelope had pitch, the decay was pretty fast, but it wasn't crazy, you know. LFO controlling pitch, and it's like not very much at all. Up to, and then yeah, maybe less. Yeah, we're getting there. Amount. Huh. The modulating the warp could be kind of interesting too. Come on, there you go. Warp. Maybe I don't want to modulate the warp that much. Maybe that's even too much. What if I did it really fast though? That's so crazy. Let's actually, instead of the warp, what if we try to do the cutoff? Cool. Let's listen to this transition. Quieter. Yeah, let's change these back to this 5 pattern. I can sort of imagine a really fast-paced arpeggio right here too, kind of like, was it this one? This one, I think. What if we just put that 8 down here and just see what that sounds like? Ooh, I like that. I feel like it might be able to, it could use some work though. So what if instead we change all these maybe to a new instrument, or we'll clone it to a new instrument. So it's on 1F. So 1F, 1F, yeah. So this should all be the same. And now instead of triple sine, we do something a little bit different. What do we got going on so far? Yeah, I want to change the low pass. I want to change the cutoff. So let's replace the timbre with cutoff. 3, 2. What if we did a ramp up? Ramp up, and then on this one here, we do the thing where the offset is at 0, so it starts at 0. Let's keep that going for maybe 2. Alright, so a little heads up on kind of where I'm at and sort of what I did off camera. Let's listen to this transition real quick. Cool. So what's happening is for this arpeggio right here, this is being built up with this LFO on the cutoff, but I want to keep the cutoff, you know, sort of high when it gets to the next phrase. So what I've done is I put in an aux table, and I put the trig at 87% offset, so it'll be kind of high, you know, up here. And then hop command so that it just constantly repeats that, and a tick command so it happens every step. I don't even know if this tick command is necessary. I just put it there out of habit, I guess. So now this keeps that same pattern, just without affecting the cutoff at all. So there's no like ramp up LFO or anything. So along with that, what else was here? Oh, sort of basically did the same thing with the chords. Put it in an aux table, offset it, and then I also kept the decay at 13 steps so it stays long and held, because this is almost some kind of like climax of the song maybe, so we want there to be like a lot of sound, maybe like a lot of stuff happening. I threw these drums back in because I really liked this hit. Oh god damn it, I just keep doing that. What else did I do? I also threw in this one again. However, I think what we could do is make that louder. So I'm just gonna go up manually and do that. So let's listen to that. Let's actually just change that back to 54. And then I also threw in the bass again. So this was the bass right here. And I just moved these down to here. Alright, so let's see. I might be trying to do another DJ filter thing. So we can squeeze that in somewhere. We could put it in this one. So let's clone that and then clone that. So we'll put DJ filter. Let's put it at 80. And then what if we did a rep down every 4, so then we get a low pass kind of thing going. Even quicker, because maybe I want to build it back up in the same phrase. It's a little too quick. Let's put it at 9, and then maybe here we'll build it back up. Oh, that's not bad. Cool, and so remember, when that happens, we need to put in the normal filter again. So we can just copy this, because I'm pretty sure that's at 80. Nice. So then it's kind of like, where do we want to go from there? I mean, we're already at, you know, almost 3.5 minutes. I think this is probably good enough to start thinking about where we could end things, and then maybe go back and then just kind of fix some stuff that doesn't sit right, like this thing up here. Yeah, that bass has got to change, and then this has also got to change. But we could call back to kind of like, what if we did that? Put that just like right there. Going just like extremely fast because the groove on this track. So what should we do? Change the groove back to 0 on this one. Groove, 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 back to 0. Great. Yeah, what if we did a little callback to that section afterwards? Like that, maybe? What if I just wanted that to be the end of it? So let's try to figure out like an easy way we can resolve that. Maybe I want this part to go to be modulated with like a high pass filter. Here's what I can do. Actually, both of these, or not both of those, this one too. So we'll put 0 and 5 on the same so I will render this to a sample, basically. So I'll select it and then hit edit twice. It'll bring up this selection screen, and hit OK. And so even though all the arrows, you know, the arrows were up here too, it only renders the selection. So don't worry about if you saw these arrows up here that it's also rendering that stuff as well. So if we, for example, create something new, and cool. So then maybe over time we want that, this filter. Let's change it to high pass filter. Let's put this low. Let's go up here. We want this to be ramp up and retrig because it's only triggered once. And we want it to be the cutoff. And we want that to happen over the course of, say, 4 phrases. So what is that going to sound like for us? Yeah, see, that's really awesome. I want to throw in some reverb too, like I want reverb to grow on this as well. So I will throw in a reverb send and a rep command, and we're going to increase it by, what if we do 4? I'm a little scared of 4, but we'll try it. Let's put a rep 0 there just because that's fun. And this happens right here, right? That's when we want to start it. So let's get rid of these two, put in that there, and then put that to be right there. So now this is kind of what we've got. Yeah, I think that sounds fine. Let's put some FEs down there, and then except for these chords, deep clone that. I want there to be pitch bend there, pitch bend down. So always a good way to end things. Kind of feels like a tape stop kind of thing. All right, that might be good for, let's hear that in context. Alright, something feels a little weird to me. What if we put this rep command, stop it right there actually, but we also go here and send some reverb as well. I mean, what's the reverb at anyway? It's at 80. So we'll keep it at 80. Rep. And instead of 4, let's do 2. What does that give us? That is too much reverb. So let's increase it by 1, and let's also start to decrease the volume maybe when it gets to this one right here. So we'll go over, we'll do volume, and it's relative so we can keep it at 0, and then we'll start doing a rep command that goes down 4 each time. That might be a little too quick. Let's do down 2. So I think that -1 instead, and I also want there to be some of that on that as well. So we'll copy that, go over to this chain, and then let's start doing that here, except let's go -5 instead. Yeah, I think that sounds pretty good. Maybe I want to change this from 1 to like 0.5. I don't want it to be too much. I think it was right there, 28. That could sound nice just kind of at the end there as well. Let's see what that sounds like. Let's just do a deep clone. I want these to be quieter. You throw in a pitch bend command, like deep. That growl. Yeah, that's not bad, except let's just kill that with the FD. I don't know how I feel about that now, when it cuts off so quickly. So let's put an FE there, or actually, let's kill it when it gets here, and see what that sounds like. That's kind of neat. I think I want to do the same thing though, where it is decreasing in volume pretty quickly. Even quicker. Alright, let's go ahead and save that, and then this I think is like the basic structure of our song. It's almost 420, almost. But there's still some minor things we can change about this that I think can make the song better. Alright, so this section I want to change. This bass I just don't think fits at all. But this other bass I think is a much better bass, and that's 16 on the instrument. So what if we change that to 16 action? What does that sound like? It already sounds better to me. Loads better. Pitch bend down. Let's put a hold on that one so we make sure we can hit this pitch bend even. Cool. So this I hate that now, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. I don't want to deal with it anymore. There was that sound right here. That was 1E. What if we take that sound and put it up here somewhere? Let's be more creative with it. So lead. Fucking where is that? Maybe I want this part to be like a little more expressive. So I'm just trying to think of like a nice like down, 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 down. So pitch bend down. Maybe on this one I want like an arp, just a little accent. Dun, 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 dun. Sometimes what's cool, we can pitch up and then down immediately. Too much. Never mind. Oh, that's what I think I want to do. Pitch slide. There we go. This is like a lot of how I kind of come up with, I don't know, these solo parts on the M8 is just kind of sing them out loud and just try to match it, and then like let the M8 also have some agency in terms of like figuring out a command, what it can do, and then just like going from there. What's the decay at? 60? Let's make this decay. What if here we put the groove at that double time groove, which was at 0-1, so then it'll speed up really fast. We're definitely gonna need 2 of those just so that things finish up on time. So Ba-da-ba-da-da. Cool, so like I can copy this just with Option, paste it there, and then if I wanted to, I could rearrange that, and so it could sound like, yeah. So let's see what that, what this thing sounds like. Maybe because it's also going to go here, if I wanted to repeat this. Up here, let's put a groove command just to reset it. So in context, that transition then begins to feel like there needs something else, or this row needs there to be something more substantial happening. What I am noticing though is that the LFO that is controlling the cutoff, it's making this sound a little too quiet. I still want there to be an LFO controlling cutoff though. So I think what I'm going to do is clone the instrument to 21. So let's change all those to 21. Okay, and so now what is going to happen is we will either raise that cutoff. Actually, yeah, that's exactly what we should do. Let's raise that by 2, and let's lower that by 1. What does that sound like for us? Let's lower the delay. I do want to change this up though. Let's just, I won't do anything with that just yet, but I know I want something different there. Oh yeah, panning, of course, panning. So LFO controlling pitch. I don't know how necessary this thing is anymore because the notes are happening so quickly. What is it? Yeah, that sounds just fine. So let's go pan the amount of pan. Let's do 90 and maybe, retrig random. Yeah, that's fine. A little lower. Oh, it actually sounds this part sounds cool in double time, but let's not do that just yet. However, I do know that this right here, clone that. Let's just make sure. So groove's at 0. I want to change some stuff up in this a bit. Let's see. Turning this into a sample and doing the cutoff trick. That would maybe be the easiest way. So I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna select just that part. 1, 2, 3. So it's just rendering that selection into a sample, and then we'll create a new thing here. Cool. So what do I want to do with that? High pass, kind of the same thing as we did with the ending. I want that to control cutoff, I want that to be ramp up, and we want it to retrig. I want it to happen over the course of 4 again. So let's see what that sounds like. Yeah, maybe something else we could do too is like the degrade could be a nice thing to incorporate. But let's degrade it like 30. What does it sound like? No. how about X up and then let's go to 10. That sounds okay. It still feels like a little stepped. What if it is a ramp up in LFO on the volume? We'll do a ramp. Let's do exp down this time over the course of 4 phrases. I decided not to do this on that volume because there's just an easier way I could do a volume with a rep command. So I wanna throw in some reverb up on this chain. So let's throw in some reverb. What's the reverb at right now? There is none. Amazing. So we can up the reverb with the rep. Let's do it by 2 each time, and let's lower the volume. That's what we were going to do. Oops. Let's lower the volume by 1. Not enough reverb. Let's do that 6, and then let's put that down to 5. And then just for good measure, we want those reps at 0. Now it's like dissolving too quickly. Yeah, this right here, I want it to be like a little more aggressive coming from all of that. It seems like this is just like pretty chill. So just deep clone just in case. Also, if you're ever worried about like having a bunch of extra phrases or instruments that you're not using and you're gonna like fill up the space, something that's really great about the M8 is that you can just go here and clear unused phrases. So a lot of times, look at that, 17 phrases freed, 5 chains freed. What if we did the same thing with instruments and tables? 4 instruments, 1 table is freed. That's amazing. Because a lot of times I'll be doing deep cloning just for safety's sake, essentially, because I don't want it to mess up other parts of the song. And then I don't end up using it or whatever, it just gets like stored in memory. So it's great that they have a ability to just erase all that unused shit. But we deep cloned it because I want, or deep clone, there you go. I want this to be like a little more aggressive. So I feel like I want there to be more retriggers, or at least the chance of those retriggers to be higher. Change that to 1D, same as that one, and then just put 1 there. Oh fuck, okay, oh god. Didn't want to do that, and I don't remember what it was that changed it up. It's okay. 3C, hey! Oh god, we found it, thank god. Okay, now we can do that. Let's cut out some parts on this row so that we can lead it into this next row. And then maybe this arpeggio can go away too on the last bit. Alright, let's start a fade out on that one actually. Volume. Yeah. 2 maybe. Maybe we can get rid of some of that stuff too. So deleting, retrig, and then we want to kill that. I think the chords need to change because so many other parts are changing. So let's change up what happens during this transition here. So I think actually this light shaker here, when I was thinking about making these parts in terms of being more aggressive, I thought retriggers would do it, but I think it's just the timbre actually. So I want to instead replace this with more harsher hat tones. So let's just deep clone just in case. Let's come over here and then we'll create a brand new instrument. And then let's look for a hat. As I'm going through these, I'm like auditioning them as the project is playing as well. And I'm liking a whole bunch of these together, so maybe instead of having one hat just as a whole phrase, we incorporate a bunch of hats just like we did with that other percussion. Okay, so now let's try filling in a bunch of these instruments with those other hats that we've just created. I still want to change the panning of all of these instruments. So we'll pan, we'll go to maybe 70, random retrig. And we'll copy that, go to 24, paste, 23, paste. And then 14, paste. I think 14 could be louder. Maybe 25 is not the right one. So now I feel like there's like too many retriggers happening. Alright, so I changed this section. No, this section. With different hi-hats instead of that more shaker-like sound. And that just repeats. Now I'm thinking of, oh yeah, changing up these chords a bit more, because I still think the transition between this part and this part doesn't sit in quite right. So I'm going to try to figure out something to do with the chords to where it doesn't just feel like it's straight continuing on from this last section here. So maybe chopping them a bit earlier and then having a pitch bend here to follow the pitch bend that's happening in the vocals. But let's first clone that. Ooh, kind of the up sounds nice. Maybe instead of da, we have the decay retrigger. Actually, okay, cool. How about this? We'll change up the cutoffs in these effects columns, just some of them, to add more diversity to what's happening with the sound of this instrument. So So now I want to change up the drums to match the chords, or the beats I should say. FD. Maybe we cut some stuff out with the bass as well. Gotta figure out what I want to do next. Alright, so some fucky kind of stuff happened with the screen recording, so I did a bunch of stuff off camera. I'm gonna try to remember and just like kind of summarize. A lot of it was pretty minor. It was like a lot of better fade-ins, added some reverb and adjusted some like minor parameters to a few of the instruments. I think the biggest thing is this part right here, changing up the hypersynth so that it has more decay to it to really fill out all of the space. So let's listen. Maybe not that part. I think it's this part actually. Maybe not that part. Oh, it's this part. So this is like the climax of the song. I want this to feel like it as really full and lively and a lot of energy. Something else that I created that is right here where the cursor is and right here is this little thing. That's just kind of like a wobbly little riser that's with the wave synth, cutoff, resonance, reverb, chorus. And then the trick is up here with the pitch, ramp it up to go one phrase, so it goes. Do the same thing with the volume, so it just starts out quieter and ends louder. And then another LFO with the pitch that is going really fast. So instead of just wah, we have more of a wah 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 wah. And that just really helps support this buildup. So in this section too, there are these samples that I had recorded. That one's just outside with some birds. And that one's just like a room or a building full of people. Both of them have reverb, and then at the last phrase they both have a fade out command or a fade out effect using the volume and rep commands. Other than that, I don't know. I can't really think of anything else. I feel like so much has happened and maybe not enough has happened. But with that being said, I think this is the end and this is our completed song. So thank you for being with me on this journey of creating a song from scratch on the M8. I learned quite a few things while making this video. I hope that you did too. Please let me know if you have any advice or have any questions about this video. That would be greatly appreciated. Yeah, thanks again, and I'm just going to go ahead and play this out now.
Issues.